It was the summer of his 72nd year when Leonard Strauss decided to take the trip he and his late wife had planned for decades, a cruise through the Mediterranean. With a backpack full of medications, a passport renewed with shaky hands, and a heart full of both hope and apprehension, Leonard boarded the plane from Newark to Rome. Everything seemed to go fine, at first. The flight was uneventful, the skies clear, but by the second day at sea, after walking the cobbled streets of Mykonos under a blazing sun, Leonard felt strange, dizzy, confused. He collapsed in the dining room, his plate of grilled octopus crashing to the floor. The ship's doctor diagnosed him with heat exhaustion and dehydration. They had to dock early in Crete so he could be transported to a hospital. What was supposed to be a joyful journey turned into a week in a foreign ER with unfamiliar doctors and the buzz of a language he didn't speak. He survived, but the experience changed him, and, perhaps more importantly, opened his eyes. There are dangers to traveling after 70 that aren't often spoken about, hidden beneath the glossy pages of travel brochures or buried in the excitement of seeing the world one last time. Leonard returned to the U.S. with a mission, to warn others like him, who still longed to see the world but didn't realize the hidden risks that come with age. 1. Dehydration and heat illness. The silent threat. It sounds simple, drink water. But for seniors, the body doesn't regulate temperature as efficiently, and the sensation of thirst becomes blunted with age. Add to that long flights, new climates, and changes in routine, and dehydration becomes a real threat, especially in hot regions like Southern Europe, Southeast Asia, or even the American Southwest. Leonard barely drank water on the plane. He had avoided fluids, not wanting to climb over passengers for frequent bathroom trips. He didn't think much of the sun exposure either. But older skin doesn't regulate heat like it once did, and a few hours outside can be enough to trigger serious heat exhaustion or even heat stroke. He remembered the nausea, the headache, and the sense that the world was shifting under his feet. If I'd known, he told his daughter later, I would have drunk double and worn a wide hat every day. Number 2, medication interactions and time zone confusion. Traveling across time zones disrupts everyone's routine, but for seniors on multiple medications, even small disruptions can have big consequences. Leonard was on 4 daily pills, blood pressure meds, a statin, a blood thinner, and a mild diuretic. On the second day of the cruise, he realized he'd taken his morning medication twice. Jet lag, fatigue, and excitement had thrown him off. The double dose nearly sent his blood pressure plummeting. It's a hidden danger few consider. Time changes, different eating schedules, and the chaos of airports can make it easy to skip a dose or double one. And if you're in a foreign country where your brand of medication isn't available, replacing it can become a nightmare. You need a travel medication plan, Leonard later told his retirement group. You can't just throw pills in a bottle and hope you remember what's what. 3. Infection and compromised immunity. Seniors have weaker immune systems than younger adults, making travel, especially air travel, a riskier proposition than most realize. Airplanes are recirculated tubes filled with hundreds of people. Cruise ships are often hotbeds for viruses like norovirus and the flu. One sneeze in the wrong direction, and it's days of misery. Leonard developed a cough 2 days before his collapse. He thought it was allergies, but by the time he landed in the hospital, he was also fighting bronchitis. In retrospect, he believed the closed airplane cabin and busy cruise buffets likely played a role. Seniors need to protect themselves, he said. Hand sanitizer isn't a luxury, it's armor. And vaccines, flu, COVID, pneumonia are not optional. 4. Insurance gaps and emergency medical costs. The ambulance ride in Crete cost Leonard $780. The hospital bill for 2 nights, $4,300. None of it was covered by Medicare, which doesn't extend beyond U.S. borders. It's a devastating truth that many seniors don't know until it's too late. Medicare doesn't pay for health care while traveling abroad, and without specific travel insurance that includes medical coverage and emergency evacuation, one fall, at one illness, one accident can wipe out savings in a heartbeat. Leonard was lucky. His daughter wired funds, but many aren't so fortunate. Don't book a trip, he warned his bridge partner, until you know your insurance will follow you wherever you go. 5. Fatigue and reduced physical resilience. At home, Leonard walked daily, climbed stairs slowly, and took regular naps. But on the cruise, the schedule was nonstop. Walking tours, excursions, late dinners, crowded ports, and hours on foot through uneven historic towns. The elderly body, even when healthy, doesn't bounce back quickly. What a 50-year-old can shrug off, a missed meal, a short night's sleep, a brisk hike, can leave a 75-year-old exhausted or worse. One misstep on a wet stone street in Dubrovnik nearly sent Leonard tumbling. I thought I could do it all, he confessed, but I didn't respect the limits of my body. He now advises fellow seniors to pace themselves, build in rest days, skip the excursions that are too demanding, choose accommodations with elevators, and always wear proper shoes. No flip-flops or stylish loafers with no grip. Back home in New Jersey, Leonard wrote his experience down. He gave a talk at the local senior center titled Traveling Smart After 70, What I Wish I Knew Before I Packed. The room was packed. He spoke not with fear, but with wisdom. Travel after 70 is still possible. In fact, it can be deeply rewarding, but it demands a kind of preparation that younger travelers may never consider. He ended his talk with these final words. Don't let fear stop you from seeing the world, but don't let pride blind you either. This isn't about weakness, it's about survival. Travel is a gift, but at our age, it's one we must unwrap with care. As the room nodded and applauded, Leonard smiled. He was already planning a new trip, this time a slower one, closer to home, with rest days built in and insurance confirmed. He'd learned his lesson the hard way. Others didn't have to.